Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Michelle is Filled with Self-Loathing and JD's Internet Sucks. My name is
Yay!
Michelle, and who's here with me?
It's JD with the shitty internet. Here's the thing about it, Michelle, is this internet was fine. We
Mm-hmm.
never, except for a couple of times where there was other stuff going on, some weather and whatnot. I never had any trouble with this internet until I moved to this new apartment, and now my internet is bullshit, and it's frustrating. But
I
we
believe
figured
you.
out a workaround, and we're here now, half an hour later than we wanted to be, to record this here episode. What is this here episode, Michelle?
It is the December recap episode in
Michelle, we
which we
have a
talk about
name for
things.
that.
Oh, we watch stuff.
Yes, it's called We Watch Stuff, December 2023.
December 2023. It is almost 2024. I
Yeah,
feel
while
old.
you... Oh, geez, excuse me. Sorry, I'm getting
Jeez
medicated.
Louise.
I know, right? No, this is the episode we started this series a while back, where we just kind of take a moment to talk about other awesome things, horror adjacent, and occasionally non-horror that we also saw this month. Michelle,
Mhm.
as I understand, you probably have significantly more to talk about than I do, so why don't you go ahead and get started?
Yeah. Okay. First off, the one that I will bring up, this is my second month deciding to sort these out into categories. So my categories, for those of you who are new to it, are recent horror, older horror, non-horror, news, and literature, which includes books, comics, manga, whatever I felt like reading. Maybe an article, maybe a creepypasta I saw on Reddit. Who knows? If I read it, it'll go into that last section. So starting off with recent horror, I finally got around to seeing The Blackening, which did release this past year,
How
June
was
15th,
that?
2023. I laughed my ass off. I don't know how much I'm allowed to comment on it without being
That's
a
fair.
problematic
That's
white
fair.
person, but oh my God, it is so funny. There is, in particular, a point where a white person is trying to explain that they are a safe space to this crew of black people who
Oh
are being
God.
killed off by a serial killer, and it's so funny. It's really great. It is enjoyable by everybody, including a little white Midwestern lady
Yeah,
from
it's
Minnesota.
been on
So
it's
it's
been on my
great.
list to check out since it was out in theaters earlier this year. Just one that I haven't made it around to yet, but definitely looking forward to seeing that one.
It is very, very good. My other one is this one got quite a lot of buzz, and it has been something that has been on my radar for a while. So I was really excited and just waiting for the day that it dropped, which it did earlier this month, and that was Leave the World Behind, starring Mahershala
Ooh.
Ali, who I love, Ethan Hawke, who is my favorite scream queen, and Julia Roberts somehow, and then some kids whose names I have forgotten.
Did
Leave the World Behind is on Netflix and it's great.
did you just call Ethan Hawke a scream queen?
I did. He is competing with Justin Long for number one Scream Queen spot because
That
he
is
does all my
hilarious.
favorite. Like, if Ethan Hawke is in it, I'm gonna love it. There's the Black Phone, Sinister, of course, The Purge. He's in the first one. Ethan Hawke is he's killing it in the horror space. And you know what? I'm here for it.
Do you
Compete with Justin Long.
but I guess my question, Michelle, is specifically the application of the terminology "scream queen."
Mm-hmm.
So you see him in the scream queen category?
You know what? It's a stretch, but if Justin Long fits into it, yes.
That's fair. I mean,
Yeah.
don't he definitely he definitely plays uh frankly some characters that in a less enlightened time would have been referred to with a lot of very female oriented derogatory terms. So maybe you're onto
Yep.
something here. Yeah.
Yep. The Black Phone, absolutely.
Yeah.
So He's a horror icon as far as I'm concerned.
Wait,
And
you're
also
talking.
maybe not
I
actually a
just
scream queen, but I think
inverted
it's
things here.
funny.
You're talking about Ethan Hawke, though, right?
Yes.
Ethan Hawke's the. Well, I can't spoil it, but I know, like, you also mentioned Justin Long in there at some point, and that was the guy that I was thinking of who, like, if you've seen him in Barbarian, he's the guy that I was thinking of who would be described in a less enlightened time by a lot of those terms. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just giving you heck over some terminology. It's not that big of a deal. I heard Ethan Hawke's Scream Queen, and I turned it into way more than it needed to be.
If you told me to write an article detailing why Ethan Hawke would be a Scream Queen, I would not be able to do it. And I would be like, no, you're right. He's absolutely not. But for the sake of like a funny thing to say on a podcast, fuck yeah, Ethan Hawke competing with Justin Long for Scream Queen.
Especially considering that I myself am the king of just saying things impulsively. I can't exactly hold that against you.
Also, there's nobody who's going to be a better Scream Queen than Mark Patton. So, like, if we're actually talking realistically, Mark Patton.
Okay.
From Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. So obviously he actually gets the number one spot as far as I'm concerned because he made a fucking movie about it. But for the sake of this podcast, yes, Ethan Hawke is going to give him a run for his money.
What an unfortunate fucking situation with that fella, huh?
Yeah, we'll have to get into that.
Yeah, if you have just quick aside, guys, if you haven't seen the documentary Scream Queen, is it still on Shudder? I'm not sure if it's still on there or not.
It rotates through a lot of free services
right.
too.
It's
I know
somewhere
it
out
on
there,
Tubi,
and
Pluto, Plex.
Yeah, it's somewhere out there, and it's going to be easy to find and easy to see. It's a documentary. It's called Scream Queen. It's about Nightmare on Elm Street 2. It's a really good watch.
It absolutely is, and it's sad. But we're not here to be sad. We're here to talk about.
Are we not? We're always sad here, Michelle. Holy shit! Have you listened to our show?
That's fair. Are we getting into the therapy section? Ugh.
It's all Michelle. The whole show is the therapy section.
You know what? Then it's not working. We have to switch therapists.
Oh Lord. Well.
What else you got? Anything about Leave the World Behind?
No, please tell me more.
I'm assuming you haven't seen it. It is about Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke and their two children, and they go to an Airbnb to just get away for the weekend. And they, we'll just say apocalyptic things take place, and they are stranded in this Airbnb. Okay. It's everything that I really enjoy about end of the world type movies, which is less them reacting to actually battling the things that are happening, and more so how people interact with one another when they think that their lives are going to end and that the inevitable will come for them. It's that kind of thing where it's an exploration in how they react to the situation as opposed to trying to fight back to the situation. So absolutely enjoyed it quite a bit. The ending is very divisive. So I would love to talk to people. They either say it is perfect or it is upsetting. I was very upset at first because it did not seem like the movie was going to end, and then it suddenly did. But after some time of reflection, I think it was the perfect way to end it. I just needed way, way more, and it made me angry. But it was very fitting for what they were trying to do. So that's why I had a new horror. Yeah.
That made me think, Michelle, you're talking about some people in an isolated place and some apocalyptic things break out. It's completely non-horror related at all, but have you seen any or heard anything about this upcoming film, ISS?
No. Is it Shit Goes Wrong in Space? Because that's one of my favorites.
Well, kinda. It stars Ariana DeBose, but it's I ain't telling no tales out of school here because they give you all of this in the trailer for the movie, so they don't care if you know or not. They give you these basic plot details. So here's what it's about. There's a few American astronauts and a few Russian, I guess, cosmonauts. I don't know if there's still cosmonauts in the post-Soviet era, but anyway, there's some Americans and there's some Russians on the International Space Station, and while they're up there, nuclear war breaks out on the planet below,
Ooh.
And now there's like a conflict between the Americans and the Russians on the space station, and they're like getting messages from Earth that it's their job
Oh my
to
God.
take control of the station from the other people. It
That sounds so good. I love
well,
shit
my
goes wrong in
reaction
space.
my reaction to so I bet you really fucking loved Gravity.
I do. I
That
love
movie
Gravity.
scares the fucking shit out of me, Michelle, in a way that
One of
is
my favorite subgenres is just shit goes
oh
wrong in space.
one
Gravity,
of
I saw it 3 times in the theater. I
one of
love that
one of
movie.
my biggest like deep-seated terrors is anytime in any movie whatsoever when somebody just floats off into space. Like
Mm-hmm.
that idea is just fucking horrific to me. Oh my god. But anyway,
And it
I
is
got
one of my favorite
distracted.
things to
Yes, your
watch.
description of Leave the World Behind made me think of ISS. Also
Well, I'm
made
glad
me
that you mentioned it because holy shit, I have to see that.
yeah, it looks like it could be. When I saw the trailer, my reaction was this. It's like that's either going to be really good or really fucking dumb. Like it's going to be I'm either going to
Yeah.
really like it or it's really not going to be for me, if you know what I mean.
I hope if it's not good that it is Moonfall levels of
I love
completely
Moonfall
missing the
so
mark.
much.
Yes.
Let's not get distracted by that.
I'm just saying, guys, if you haven't seen Moonfall yet, I tried to argue it for it belonging on my best of 2022 list
For sure.
last
So,
year 'cause God, it's good. Yeah, new
those are
horror.
your
Do
new
you?
horror and horror adjacent titles that you wanted to talk
Yep,
about. I got
yep. And
one.
I'm excited to hear your one because
I
I
got
haven't
one
seen it
because you
yet.
know what it is.
Yep, I know what it is.
And guys, there's been a lot of hype about it, and a lot of people saying a lot of things to the extent that by the time I finally got to go see this film, I was genuinely worried that it just wasn't possibly going to be able to live up to the image and the expectation I had created from all of the hype surrounding it. And when I tell you that not only did it live up to that hype, but actually, as far as I'm concerned, surpassed it, is incredible. The movie is Godzilla Minus One. Uh, this is the movie that so many people have said that they wanted to make or have tried in earnest to make. This is an epic human drama that also just happens to involve a giant monster. Right? It's got vibes of a war movie like a Pearl Harbor or something like that. It has some vibes of like a disaster movie like an Armageddon or that sort of thing. It has like this is the kind of movie where there is Oscar caliber writing and acting and directing going on here, and it just so happens to also have a giant fucking monster just wrecking shop all over Japan. I tell you this much, when Godzilla goes to town, he goes to fucking town. It's one of my issues with Shin Godzilla Resurgence from a few years ago is it made the stylistic choice to keep Godzilla's appearances limited. And but this movie like gets right to it. Godzilla just fucking shit up with all sorts of power. The last act of the movie, the big conflict, they do this beautiful thing where they just line up for you step by step what you're about to see happen to make sure you're not confused by any of it, and then they just play out exactly what they just it's well written in the sense that it's that kind of predictable where you're like, yeah, I know where this is going, and then it goes there and you're so satisfied. It also does things and doesn't do things. And that's the big thing for me. And I can't get into too many spoilers, obviously, here. I don't want to do that. This movie doesn't do some very crucial things that I feel like an American filmmaker or an American studio would have done, in the belief that it made the movie more real or emotional that this movie chooses not to do, and I think it's so much better for it. I'll be honest with you, while I was watching it for the first, it's about a 2 hour movie, and for the first almost hour to an hour and a half, I was like, okay, there's a lot of building going on here, but I don't like there, and then so many pieces fall into place in the last half hour and or so of this movie, and it's like once you it's like watching somebody do origami, right? Not to make a obvious like cultural reference. You're just watching all these weird folds and things happen, and you don't understand what's going on until it's finally done, and they fold it open, and you realize, oh shit, it's a crane, or what. I could go on and on about this movie. It is very possibly, I have to do some looking back and some real strong thinking, but off the top of my head, I would say this is probably my favorite movie of any kind of the entire year. It's so fucking good, Michelle. You have to see it.
I know. I want to see it so badly. The problem is they put it in the lesser of the two theaters that we have available to us.
It's worth suffering through those chairs, I promise you.
It's not. I promise you. I will be so much happier watching it in my family room by myself. So I will wait. I was going to go see it this week. I know. I was going to go see it this week. Here's the thing. I was going to go see it this week, and then I had 2 close contacts with COVID within 2 days. And it's not even so much that, like, I'm worried about getting sick. It's kind of inevitable after being in close contact with 2 people on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So I'm just not bothering. I'm not going to get other people sick.
Hey, Michelle.
It was the only thing I was leaving my house for. I'm just not going to do it.
How cool is it that we're literally days away from 2024, and we still got to worry about the novel coronavirus from 2019?
I keep forgetting it's a thing, and then suddenly during Christmas, I'm reminded that it's a huge thing. Because this is my nephew's 2nd year having COVID on Christmas, and I feel so bad for him.
We just all sort of, I'm not saying we, but just collectively as a culture, we just said, "Bam, we just don't give a shit anymore, and this is just going to be a thing that we deal with just like the flu now. It's the Spanish flu all over again, you know?"
Well, on the plus side, I never leave my house.
We all get a new flu shot every year because this is what happened then, too. Now, to be fair, they didn't have nearly the ability to deal with it then that we had. Anyway, this is not a discussion for a horror movie podcast. Godzilla Minus One, guys. If you haven't seen it, fucking see it. It's so good.
I want to see it so badly. It was the one thing I was going to do this week.
Yeah, and I have been super busy this month, obviously, with things with the move and whatnot. So there's not a whole lot of stuff that I have to talk about, but I needed to tell you about that one. It's so goddamn good.
I've heard from such a wide variety of people that it is potentially the best movie of the year.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And, I'll see if I can squeeze in before our best of 2023, but it depends on when we record that. Anyway. Okay, older horror. I spent a very long time this month with older horror. I actually went through 2 entire movie series. One was not horror. I will put it in the non-horror category. We'll get to it. You probably don't want to hear me talk about it anyway. But when I got my new TV, yes, this is another reference to the new TV. Take a shot, part of the drinking game. I had to decide what I was going to watch on the new TV. What was worthy of my first theatrical experience, and it came to me like Jesus came to Moses in the burning bush or whatever that story is. It just showed up like an epiphany, a revelation worthy of a book in the Bible. And I watched all 5 Final Destination movies in the span of 48 hours. And that was the right choice, let me tell you. Final Destination, first off, love the naming scheme. Final Destination 2, Final Destination 3, The Final Destination, and then right back to Final Destination 5. Love that. Great indication. The last two, I'm pretty sure were meant to be in 3D. At least one of them was. Was Final Destination 5 also in 3D? I sure
Yeah,
hope so. Otherwise, I
Final
have questions about a lot
Destination.
of that.
Excuse me, I'm coughing again. Final Destination 3, I believe, was Final Destination 3D.
Oh, so actually 3 of the movies were in 3D because The Final Destination and Final Destination 5 were definitely
Let me
very
be
3D
clear. I don't
centric.
know that for 100% sure, but I
I believe
think the
you.
third one was 3D.
It would make a lot of sense, especially watching 4 and 5 and just being like, "Oh, it's things flying at my face, but I'm watching this at home in 2023, and this does not matter." We do have Final Destination 6 coming in late 2024, hoping for that October release date. Please don't disappoint me. I need more Final Destination in my life. I just love the concept of trying to trick death and then death getting mad and trying to get back at you. Those movies are so fucking good. I used to think Final Destination 2 was one of my favorites, but after rewatching the whole series, it might be Final Destination 3 is better than 2. And I had a lot of personal debates throughout the entire month just with myself, just arguing back and forth for hours. I fucking love Final Destination.
I've only seen a couple of them. It's not my thing in any way at all.
Of course not.
A couple of things that I always come to mind when people talk about Final Destination films. First of all, one of my biggest things with it, and look, I understand, like, this is going to sound like a ridiculous nitpick to some people, but this is how taste works sometimes, right? Some things that work for people just don't work for other people because you get a thought in your head about it and you just can't shake it.
Yep. Yep.
And here's the
Me
thought.
and that one Marvel movie we won't
Right,
name because people get
here's
mad
the
at me.
thought throughout this entire franchise that I can't shake is they were supposed to die in a plane crash. Look, spoiler warning for the Final Destination franchise. I don't think this is the kind of thing that needs a spoiler warning. Everybody, if you haven't seen it, I assume knows what the gimmick is, right? If you don't, I'm
What?
sorry. But so all of these people were supposed to die in a plane crash, right? Just a plane crash. I think
Just a
there's a
plain
whole
plane
thing
crash?
where the plane gets ripped in half or whatever, so it's a particularly terrible plane crash where they go
Oh,
flying
yeah.
out in the middle of the air. But it's an airplane disaster, right? But they don't die. They escape death's design. And look, first thing, just on a surface level, death's design is a phrase I could go the rest of my life without ever hearing again. I don't know what it is about that phrase, but I hate it. But my question is, like, is there some sort of rule that says if you somehow break death's design, uh obviously death has to try and catch up and get you. But, like, is there some kind of rule where, like, death can't just hit you with a fucking car? He's got to, like, set up these fucking Rube Goldberg traps where, like, fire goes down the side of the oven and across the floor, and, like, you slip on a, like, there's such complicated asinine ways in which people end up dying, and it's like why, like, what, there are multiple scenes in these movies where these people are just, like, walking down the street. Why doesn't death just have some crazy person in a car just fucking mack them to death, you know?
Well, that does happen quite a lot in the series. People get hit by decapitated by a train, hit by multiple cars, airbag goes off, and kills somebody that way. A plane of glass falls on a person. I think the other times death is just having fun. Wouldn't you fuck
Eh,
around? Like just killing
maybe,
somebody with a car is boring, and
maybe.
these people escape, so there's a little bit of rage, and you want it to be not quick in the way that a car accident might be, where you're like, oh fuck, I killed them too quickly. I would have rather they got stabbed a whole bunch and then died in a fire.
Right.
Haven't you ever had somebody anger you so much that you're like, man, I really wish that you were a Final Destination character and just went through a very elaborate death scene? Haven't you ever felt
No,
like that before? Like,
no,
I really wish you would get trapped in a tanning bed that's turned up way too high. You never had those moments?
no.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Never mind.
Ah!
Therapy section over.
Anyway, and the other thing that I always find interesting about the Final Destination movies, and I think you'll be able to relate to this. Is it's a very popular sentiment to the extent that it's become somewhat memed in ways. But this whole thing about like people will show you a picture of like a log truck or a truck with a bunch of stuff in it, but it's not like covered up or whatever, and they'll make some sort of reference to like I've seen too many Final Destination movies to drive behind a truck like this or whatever. And all I can think about that is like you didn't just immediately become terrified of that possibility the first time you saw a log truck in your life. You had to watch a movie where, oh shit, somebody got killed by a log falling off of a truck, and I never thought of that before, but now I thought about it, and you didn't just, because I've been terrified of getting smashed in the face by a log falling off the back of a truck since I was like 3 years old. That's
Oh no, that was not in my mind
oh
until I saw
god.
Final Destination.
Oh, Michelle,
I
I
have a
don't
lot of
know.
irrational fears because
I don't
of
know where
those
it came
movies.
from, but for my whole life, like I cannot drive behind like a truck that's like open stuff on it like that. I have to get out from behind it as soon as possible. And Final Destination didn't have fuck all to do with that.
Counterpoint, Final Destination 4 or 5 has David Koechner in it. Apparently, this is my David Koechner month. The guy whose name I didn't know at the beginning of the month, I now know it, and I watched 4 movies with him this month.
Someday down the road when we're super huge and popular and famous, some people will talk about how they were listening back in Michelle's David Koechner phase. It'll be pretty great.
Oh my god, my David Koechner phase, kind of how I had like a The Killers phase and Panic at the Disco phase. I'm still
Oh
in my
God,
Panic at
why
the
would you
Disco
do
phase.
that
Let's
to
be
yourself?
real.
Anyway,
We don't talk shit about Brendan Urie on this podcast. We've had this discussion.
it's fine.
But yeah, so it's David Koechner. Also, Devon Sawa in the first movie, he was the real version of Casper in Casper. And
You know what else Devon Sawa is in?
Casper, he is my Casper.
Devon Sawa is also in the Glenn Danzig written and directed film Death Rider in the House of Vampires, which had a brief theatrical release in 2021 and is now finally available on DVD and Blu-ray. And I imagine will be available for streaming somewhere soon, and you should all fucking see it because it is. Oh, it's a thing to behold, you guys. It's
If Devon Sawa is in it, I'm sold. He was Stan in
Devon
the Eminem
Sawa
music video.
is the star. He is Death
Oh,
Rider who finds himself in the
Wow.
House of Vampires.
Well, you have sold me. I'll go watch it.
I
watch
flew
him
to Las
be in a
Vegas to see that movie in a theater.
Oh, you talked about it. What a
And
weird throwback.
myself and my friend who went with me and my friend who lived in Vegas were 3 of 4 people in the theater to watch the movie. Anyway, check that
I will
out, guys.
absolutely. Yeah, I definitely will.
Do you have other old school
do.
horror stuff?
I do. Just a couple to mention. First off, I want to give a very public, very heartfelt, and true apology to Drag Me to Hell from 2009. I thought I had seen this movie. I was convinced that it was like any other plain old possession movie that came out in the early 2010s-ish.
Oh, Michelle.
I was convinced that this was no different than everything else. And I just happened to be scrolling and went, haven't seen this in a while. I don't really remember much about it. I remember nothing about it. I had never seen this movie. Holy shit, what a great movie.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Michelle,
I
it's
did not
Sam Raimi.
know. Yeah, I know, but he's done other stuff besides Evil Dead-y things, but this is very Evil Dead-y, and I had no idea. I thought it
it's
was just like any
fantastic.
other possession movie that we were getting back in 2009.
I saw
No.
that movie.
Oh my God.
I saw that movie theatrically, and it was
It's so
just,
good.
Oh God, what a fabulous ending to that movie! Just loved it.
The ending of that movie is on one of the streaming services, the shot that shows up before you hit play. So I went, I don't remember that scene. And then while I was watching, I'd be like, I've never seen this. And then that happens. I'm like, you have the
I
ending of the movie as the play button?
I don't understand people.
I
I
don't, yeah,
really
I hate them. That's
really
what it is.
why would you do
You
that?
really wish that they would die in a tanning bed that's been closed because death is mad at them for escaping them once before? Same.
Okay, sure. Anyway, what other
Uh,
older horror?
then one more quick shout out to Seven, which I did watch and is still excellent, of course. But I had to go back to what started my love of found footage. It is not the first found footage by any means. It is not the best found footage by any means, but it was the one where I went, I might have a thing for found footage. And that was Cloverfield from 2008. I saw
Hmm.
it twice in theaters. The first time, I got so motion sick that I just had my head down for the last half of the movie because I could not handle it. But I was so enthralled during the first part that I went, I'm going to take a bunch of Dramamine and try that again. And it was so much better the second time while I was heavily medicated. I did not realize until this rewatch that you have to really like TJ Miller to like this movie because I did not know he was the man behind the camera until I went, oh, it's that guy. But Cloverfield is fucking great, and it's not the best graphics by any means. It's 2008, but I really, really love the monster in that movie and the way that they're climbing through rubble, and now they're in the middle of an army fight. And that one lady who looks like Mary Elizabeth Winstead, but who is not Mary Elizabeth Winstead,
It's
she's there.
are
It's a
you
great,
thinking
great
of
film.
the chick who was also in
I cannot hear you if you're talking, by the way.
you can't hear
Uh
me?
oh. Did you mute yourself?
Hang on. No, the
Uh
microphone is
oh.
on. Oh
Uh
Lord,
oh.
give me 2 seconds.
No,
Can you hear me
nothing.
now?
Oh, I heard a sound.
Hang on.
Oh, hey, I hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Good. Remember
All
those
right.
commercials? That was a
Yes.
riot when I was in junior high.
Oh man. So anyway.
Cloverfield, great. I thought you had no arguments, and you were like, "Yep, I
No,
also agree."
I was trying to think. Are you thinking of Lizzie Kaplan?
Yes, thank you. And I
Yeah,
know who Lizzie Kaplan is. He's from Mean Girls. I have not forgotten her. I just
she's also
occasionally forget her name.
from Party Down, and she was
Oh,
in I
she's
want to
from a
say
million things.
like
She's from
season two, I think
Cobweb.
of True Blood. Yeah, she was in Cobweb.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah, I
fantastic
know
film.
Lizzie Kaplan. I just forget her name. And if I say, looks like Mary Elizabeth Winstead, everybody goes, oh, Lizzie Kaplan. Yeah, her. Castle Rock, I know who Lizzie Kaplan is. I just
Fair
forget her
enough.
name.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Cloverfield. Fucking
Right
great.
on.
That is it for my older horror. Did you have anything to add to older horror?
Yeah, absolutely. Not
Ooh.
anything that I've watched recently, but I want to bring it up
Oh, a
immediately
lie.
because well, no, it's just stuff that's been dropped on Shutter again. Stuff that's been on Shutter
Ooh, okay.
previously. It cycled out for a while. It's back here. There's several films that they just dropped recently, and they're all Mario Bava films. And if you are not familiar with Mario Bava is sort of like the ultimate like predecessor in Italian horror. Like Mario Bava is kind of almost where the entire giallo genre springs from is Bava's stuff. And all the greats sort of nod to him, but there are a couple of films in particular. One of his earlier films called Black Sunday, and then of course I think his best film. It's a legendary film. It's called A Bay of Blood. It's basically a movie that was ripped off in so many ways by Sean Cunningham for Friday the 13th. Like, especially if you're familiar really with the first Friday the 13th movie, but you've never seen A Bay of Blood, you're going to be like, oh, well, that's interesting. Anyway, it's a fabulous film. Older stuff, I think Black Sunday is very late 50s, and A Bay of Blood is mid 60s, early mid 60s. But fabulous films. I'm going to be watching them soon again myself as soon as I find the time to do it. but they're absolutely phenomenal classics, and I have to. There's other of his films on there as well, but those two in particular, I really strongly recommend you take some time with. Also, one other older movie, but not nearly as old. I did also recently finally watch under Michelle's insistence. A film from, I want to say, was it 2017, called Anna and the Apocalypse. But that's all I'm going to say about it, because we're actually going to be doing a whole episode about that movie. Because I was watching
Check
it.
it out while it's still the Christmas season. It's
right.
on
Well,
Shudder. Go watch it. Go
I
now.
was watching it, shooting some comments occasionally to Michelle, and then I got all caught up in it. And then by the time it was over, I was like, oh, we definitely have to talk about this. Because I know how Michelle feels about this movie, and I feel like we're going to have a real interesting chat about it. It's going to be a good time. But no, she's absolutely right. Definitely go see it. It's here's what I didn't expect is, regardless of what we're going to talk about it's actually a really slickly, incredibly well-produced musical film. Like, this isn't like some very well-meaning, like, super indie sort of thing. Like, there was some money put into this. It's really well choreographed and filmed. It's really, really well done. And it's worth seeing if you're a fan if you're a fan of musical horror. It's worth your time.
If you like zombie musical Christmas movies.
Exactly. This is the one
with
for
comedy
you.
thrown in. Of course.
Right,
You can't do a musical zombie and it's completely non-comedical.
True. Well, I only have one other thing that I want to talk about, Michelle, and I'm sure I think you mentioned that you have some things in this area that you wanted to talk about as well. So you just go ahead and go for a while, and once I hear you talking about the other thing that I want to talk about, I'll jump in.
Oh, I'm curious what the other thing you think is it the non-horror section?
Yeah, it's just a thing that's not horror.
Okay, gotcha. My non-horror thing, I hate that I have to talk about this in 2023, but I do need to say it because it was a monumental thing for me, and I'm just going to rip off the Band-Aid. I own the entire Harry Potter collection on Blu-ray. I had only seen the first 4 movies because I hated the 4th movie so much that I just stopped watching them. I was a huge fan of the Harry Potter books growing up. I was a big nerd. There are 2 wolves inside of you. One of them loves the Saw franchise. The other one is a Hufflepuff, and sometimes they both control me at the same time. I hate J.K. Rowling, so as far as I'm concerned, she is completely removed from it. And this month, I finally went back and I rewatched all the Harry Potter movies. And once I toughed it out through the 4th, I don't, as a movie fan, even though this is not horror, I just have to say, like, 7th and 8th was a fucking experience. That was a catharsis I've been waiting my entire life for. So great movies, very fucking dark, very depressing. And I think that's why I liked the series so much growing up. And I became such a huge horror fan because, they started off kind of light and then everybody fucking dies by the end. And I had to include it. I was going to do myself a disservice not saying that I watched the Harry Potter movies, but I finally gave in. I did not give J.K. Rowling any money to do it. I already owned them, and God, I fucking love Daniel Radcliffe. That's why I did it. He's so fucking good.
I have never read a single Harry Potter book. I have only seen the first 2 Harry Potter movies.
Now is not a time to get into them.
I saw each of them once while they were in theaters, so it's been since 2002.
I was going to say, I went to the movie premiere. One of the coolest things my dad ever did for me was, this was back before you had to go to a theater and wait in line to get tickets. So we went to get tickets to the opening night of Harry Potter, and we were near the end of, like, right when they sold out. We were right there, and I got so sad. And a teenage girl turned to us and said, 2 of our friends can't make it. Do you want our tickets? And I was like, oh, shit. So I made it to the first Harry Potter premiere, and it was a fucking event.
Michelle, since I know you are old enough to have experienced those days, what's the longest you've ever stood in line to get tickets for something?
It was probably that, and it was half hour to an hour.
Oh, that's it? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. It was. How long did you have to wait to see a movie? What did they have to do
Oh,
back in the
well,
dark ages?
for a movie, I stood in line for about an hour to get in the door of the theater. And then it was about another half hour of just standing in the crowded lobby before they opened the theater for us to go in. I don't remember exactly why, but it was a whole thing, and it was for. It happened 3 times actually because it was for the midnight release of the Star Wars special editions in
Mm.
'97 or
Yeah,
'98.
the lesser of the Harry Potter franchises. I'm kidding. I'm
Oh
kidding. Do not fight with me.
wow!
Do not fight with me about Star Wars
Well,
versus Harry Potter versus Star Trek. I can't handle it today. I'm a huge nerd. We can't do it.
I
Okay,
mean,
continue.
first
I
of
just
all,
had to
this
sign the peace treaty myself.
I find it hilarious that the 3 things you chose were Star Wars, Star Trek, and Harry Potter because like one of these things is not like the other
I
things.
know. I was thinking of very passionate
It's fine.
fandoms.
It's fine.
Very
Do
passionate
you have
fandoms are
do you have
those
any
three.
other not horror adjacent things that you wanted to talk about?
No, I watched a lot of horror. I watched very little good horror this month.
Do you have any
It was
other
disappointing.
movie things that you want to talk about, or are you moving
No,
on to other media after
I'm
this?
ready to move on from the movies. You
Okay,
are good. I've watched
so
very little
I got one
of
other
note.
thing that I want to talk about, and it's funny because the other movie that I talked about a lot in this movie or in this episode was Godzilla Minus One. And once again, I get to be the person who tells you, like, if you haven't seen this fucking movie yet, like, there was so much hype and so many people kept saying so many things about it that I found so hard to believe. I was like, it's like I'm not saying the movie was like I was thinking to myself like I mean maybe you liked it, but could it really have been that good? And then I saw it, and it was so much more than I ever thought that a movie like it could have been, and it frankly broke my brain a little bit. And that movie is Barbie.
You hadn't seen Barbie?
No, I just finally saw it when it landed on
Oh!
Max for streaming.
When we got stuck in Fargo because the weather was so bad on Christmas, I brought my dad to our place and I was like, I'll make just a little dinner of what I can. And then I forced him to watch the Barbie movie with me.
It's it's fucking incredible. Like
Yeah.
it's here's what I was not ever expect. I assumed a Barbie movie was going to be this sort of like tongue-in-cheek comedy with a real sweet sort of ho
Mm-hmm.
ha kind of feel-good message at the end about being yourself. And this movie frankly is a fucking absurdist masterpiece. Like this movie is so like it's more than I even ever thought that a movie about Barbie could be. It says so much on so many different levels, and again the way it presents its ideas of, first of all, the visual style of it is garish in frankly unsettling ways at times. The character that Kate McKinnon plays, uh,
Weird Barbie?
yeah,
Weird Barbie's
Weird
my
Barbie.
favorite.
Yeah,
She's always stuck in the splits.
I don't want to say too much about it
Nope.
because some people may still have not seen it, but
But Weird Barbie. It's Kate
I
McKinnon. Of course
love,
she's a weird Barbie.
and I don't know, maybe not everybody has gotten this from it, but I assume you did, just because we're both into sort of darker stuff. But like, as light and silly as that character is in a lot of ways,
Mm-hmm.
there is this undercurrent of real fucking dark and bleak and Kate McKinnon plays it so well. America Ferrera steals the fucking show in this movie. People been talking about that moment where she has her little monologue, and it's every bit as good as like this movie. 2 times in the same episode of this show, I get to say that a movie not only lived up to the hype, but frankly surpassed it. This movie is so goddamn good. It was just like I definitely need to see it again. I don't know how I missed it, but I guess it never really registered with me that it's a musical. Like there are so many songs in this movie.
It's very soundtrack heavy, but it is not a
Okay.
musical. I think singing along would be different. They are like the music is part of their world. Obviously, that beginning song with Lizzo, where she is basically narrating what is happening. But I wouldn't say it's the same as a musical. However, the
All right.
soundtrack is fucking fire, and I have had it on repeat. That Billie Eilish song that plays in that movie, I can't hear it without tearing up. And there was one day I was in my feelings pretty immensely, and I was home alone with just me and my animals, and that's when I brewed the best. My husband came home, and I had that Billie Eilish song playing on repeat, and it was just blasting from the living room as I just laid on my couch and pondered my existence and what was I made for. And he came out after a while from his office where he had been hiding safely, and he was like, can we maybe play a different song? And I just turned to him and said, this is the same song. She made a 3-hour song. And he went, she made a 3-hour song? And I went, yeah, this is still the same song. And then like a couple seconds later, the song ended and he called me on my bullshit. I was like, let me just feel my feelings, Jonathan. So that movie is great. Wizard and the Bruiser is a podcast that I am a huge fan of. I don't listen to many podcasts because there is so much content out there that I have to consume. I almost said assume. Wizard and the Bruiser, Wizbrew fans, hello. They did an episode about Barbie and about the history of Barbie, and also a little bit about the movie because it was before the movie came out. And I learned so many things about how that movie was made from that episode. Greta Gerwig, every day she was on set, she wore pink because, you know,
I
it's
heard
Barbie.
about that, yeah.
She had everybody, regardless of who you were, wear name tags because she wanted everybody to feel like they could have a voice regardless of who they were on set. So you knew everybody by name. She said that she really wanted a collaborative effort. Also, it's funny you mention the decor being so pink because it was so pink that shade of pink was had a shortage in the United States because they bought it all for the set and
That's
it could not
funny.
be ordered for a while
That's
because of
hilarious.
Barbie. I'm so glad you finally saw it.
No, it's amazing.
heartbreaking.
Here's a small detail about it that I just love. When you get to the credits, none of the Barbies are identified by their specific, like there's not a stereotypical Barbie and a weird Barbie and these different there's literally like just a dozen names, and it's just like Margot Robbie, Barbie,
Yep.
Kate McKinnon, Barbie, Sharon Rooney, Barbie, Dua Lipa, Barbie, and like that has to be on purpose, right? Because they all have identifying names in the film.
Yeah,
right?
President Barbie, Mermaid Barbie. Yeah, we
Right.
know who they're referring to, but I
Right.
love because the whole point of the movie is we're all Barbie.
Right.
Barbie is all of us. It's
that's-
very Taoism.
And
Oh, I love it.
That's a level of detail and thought that makes you say, it makes you realize there is so much more going on here than you ever expected. Here's a couple of other things that I never expected, and it just surprises me that I somehow didn't ever know that these people were in this movie until they appeared in this movie. First of all, shout out motherfucking John Cena, who is Ken in this movie.
How did you see him?
What?
How do you see him? How do you see him?
Oh,
I didn't see him in the movie at all.
I see.
Is that meme still funny?
I see what you're doing.
I fucking love John Cena.
But also, what I had no idea about is that Rhea Perlman plays Ruth in this.
Yeah.
Ruth, I can't remember her last name, but the creator of Barbie, and not just play, but is amazing. I haven't seen Rhea Perlman in forever. I don't remember the last thing
Is
I
that a
saw her in.
spoiler
What,
or is
Rhea
that okay?
Perlman?
Well, not the Rhea Perlman, but when you see her the first time, my dad and I were arguing about this. Is it supposed to be that you know she's the creator of Barbie? Or is that supposed to be a reveal later on? Because my dad was saying that he saw that coming, and I went, I didn't think that was a hidden thing. And I'm curious.
Oh no, 'cause I guess I assumed you were. I guess it just depends on how much you know about Barbie. Maybe
That's fair.
I can't say for sure. Like I
She does
knew
introduce herself as Ruth.
right
So
the minute she
that's
says
part of
the
it.
name, like I knew exactly who it was. I'm
Okay.
not gonna
I
tell
was
you.
I was
I'm
curious.
not gonna tell
Yeah.
you in what
In what
context she
context?
appears or anything like that. But no, I just even the fact that Rhea Perlman is in this movie and
Hmm.
nobody like somehow it just I never knew until she literally appeared on screen, and she was great. No, this movie is like I sat there and I watched it, and when I tell you that like I just had this look on my face of just like just astonishment in a lot of ways, but like positive astonishment, right? Not like just oh my god, what are you doing? Just like it was just scene after scene of fuck, this is so good.
You know what's unfortunate?
What's that?
That it's a movie about Barbie and Barbie's life, and it's very Barbie centric. And the best part of the movie is fucking Ryan Gosling. How dare
Oh.
he steal the spotlight? How dare he? He's so good.
Oh.
I
And
did
then
not know I was a Ryan Gosling fan, despite liking so many movies. I bawled my eyes out during The Notebook. I was 14. I was young. I was
yeah.
naive. I thought love could last forever in a way that dementia could not destroy. Like I was full of hope.
Don't
Ryan
tell
Gosling then,
John.
and like he knows that one of us is going to get to mention it and forget the other one. It runs in his family. We know this. We've accepted it. I'm already making T-shirts that say "Bring me back to Michelle," and then I have a shirt that says "I'm Michelle." Like we're
Oh
prepared.
my
We talked about
god.
this. But yeah, like Ryan Gosling is so fucking funny, and he said he took the role because one day he saw his daughter playing with Barbies, and she left Ken buried in the dirt, and he went, "This man deserves a better story," and agreed to play Ken. Um, After Barbie came out, my TikTok was just full of Ryan Gosling interviews. And we're not going to say too much, but I will say that Ryan Gosling's character really enjoys horses in the movie. That's all I'll say about it. But Margot Robbie gifted him multiple horse themed items on set. And at one point, he comes to the door and he's reading a book and he's holding a book about horses that she had gifted to him and did not realize he was going to bring on set to be the
Nice.
book that Ken was reading. And I just love that level of like, God, those two together, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Great fucking
Also,
movie.
another thing, like just the you know how some movies they have a line in the script somewhere that like once you hear it, it immediately stands out as like the soundbite sort of thesis statement of the entire film, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to tell you where it happens in this movie or even what the line is, but once you hear it, myself as a like just an extra nerdy appreciator of words and the effectiveness of certain combinations of words, it for me it was just like one of the most purely effective. It's like, yeah, that's the whole thrust of this movie distilled into one pure, efficient statement. And it was beautiful. It's I don't know how much time I've spent rambling about it, but like I saw those two movies. I saw Barbie and Godzilla Minus One within about a week of each other, and I was like, how is this? How is this happening? This is incredible.
So we got to experience the Barbenheimer phase because Barbie and Oppenheimer were released on the
Mm-hmm.
same day. And no, I did not go to them at the same time because I wanted to go to Barbie first and then Oppenheimer. But Oppenheimer showed on the Ultra Screen first and then Barbie. And that seemed like the wrong way to do it. But I did get a shirt that is bright blue with pink text that looks like Barbie text and says, "I am become death, destroyer of worlds." So I did get into it a little bit. It's my favorite T-shirt right now.
That's
Anyway,
fabulous.
what I'm saying is that I kind of wish we had gotten the Barbie Godzilla marketing that could have been
That
released.
could have been
Barbenheimer was
Barbzilla.
fine. Barbzilla, oh
Barbzilla
man, we missed out.
would have been something else. Anyway,
So good.
Michelle, that's
Yeah,
all I really wanted to talk about on this episode. So from here
cool.
on
My
out,
things will be quick.
the floor is yours. I'm gonna sit here and medicate. Maybe sip on some pink grapefruit carbonated zero sugar drink, and tell these people what kind of awesomeness you've been ingesting.
Yeah. So just a couple things that I want to put in the news category. If you're coming to this podcast for news, you're missing out. I'm just going to tell you some things that I enjoy. You should go subscribe to some other people for like straight up news. We don't do that, but I do have a couple things I'm excited about. And guess what? The We Watch Stuff thing, that's where I'm going to tell you about them because you know what? Fuck it, it's our show. So first bit of news, there is a rumor that we are getting the Stranger Things final season trailer this week. I am beyond excited for it. Uh it's horror adjacent. Fuck it. I'm excited. It's a rumor. They better give it to me in the next couple days. It is the exact thing I need to start 2024 with. My next thing, Saw 11 was announced. These motherfuckers, September 2024. They're going to push it back to October, though. I know they're going to do it. They're going to give it to us in Halloween or Halloween month because that's when they always come out. How fucking dare they? The final chapter was the 7th movie, and now we're getting an 11th? How dare you?
Well, to
I
be
already own the
fair,
entire collection on Blu-ray.
8 and 9 were spin-offs. They weren't.
And Saw 10 was, then it wouldn't
I
have been
know.
labeled Saw 10. It would have been Saw 8
I
with
was-
Jigsaw and Spiral being their own
I
thing.
was
Also, John Kramer is in Spiral.
I was making a
very mad.
mockery of the people who would say that sort of thing.
I'm just really mad at them that I bought the entire collection on Blu-ray before they announced Saw 10, and I already went, fuck, I mean, I have to have like one movie sitting outside of my Blu-ray collection, and now there's two. I'm eventually going to have to get another box set of Saw. And you know what the worst part of that is? I recently went through and indexed my entire movie collection because I was tired of buying duplicates by being like, this is my favorite movie. Clearly, I don't own it. I don't know why that's my logic, but I did go through, I created an Excel sheet. Yes, it is intense. Yes, I did go to Electric Underground and impulse bought 23 Disney DVDs yesterday because I needed to make sure that my childhood classics were covered in case I never got to see them again. But now I went through it and I had 4 copies of Saw 1 somehow. And it's going to happen again. I'm going to get inundated with Saw movies. Everybody's going to give me Saw movies for Christmas going forward.
Well,
I have too many Saw movies.
I mean, first things first, Michelle, this is why you never, ever, ever buy a box set.
It looked beautiful.
Okay.
And now
well,
it's tarnished.
all right.
In a
fair
way
enough.
that John Kramer would not allow if he had any say in it. He would definitely create traps for the people who made a box set before he was done with it. I'm so
Got
mad.
any?
Anyway,
You got any more news, Michelle?
yeah, I'm just really pissed off about Saw 11.
I
How
know.
fucking dare they? I will see it, and it will be my favorite movie of the year. I'm so mad. Okay, and then my last one. Here's your moment to rage. I don't know if you'll rage. You're definitely trying to be nicer these days, but I heard a bit of news.
I know
that
what
is
you're about to
specific
say.
you.
And it's actually something that
it-
I was going to bring up here if
Oh,
you didn't
man.
mention it. Yeah.
Okay. H.P. Lovecraft's The Call of Cthulhu is being made into a movie by James Wan. And additionally, there will be a video game. And I'm really fucking excited for the video game. Do you have any thoughts on that, JD? Given how much you love Lovecraft as well as have feelings about James Wan? I hope it's a Megan style movie. Megan Call of Cthulhu.
I
Call of
have
Megan.
Michelle, I have so many thoughts. so many. So many.
Mm-hmm.
But I am genuinely, like, I'm playing it for a laugh here, but it's also a very genuine thing. trying hard to reprogram myself to not, just. I think it's better if we just don't talk about it. Is what I'm trying. My plan, if you didn't mention it, is I was just going to be, in case you haven't heard, it's been announced that James Wan or Wan, however, is adapting H.P. Lovecraft's The Call of Cthulhu. Do with that information what you will. And
more importantly, we're getting a Call of Cthulhu video game. Give it to me, make it good.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm just not gonna say the things. I'm not proud of the thoughts I've had. Is what I'm trying to say.
We're going to that movie on premiere night and then doing a surprise episode where we cannot talk about it until we record because you're gonna have feelings, and I'm excited for them.
I will say this, and this honestly isn't even just because it's a James Wan thing. It's because I realize this is far from a rare thing, but aside from the fact that he was a terrible racist and an awful person in a number of ways, apparently, it's. Think of it as H.P. Lovecraft is my J.K. Rowling, right? And
that's a really good comparison.
The Cthulhu mythos is my Harry Potter. Like,
oh, man.
Like,
yeah.
Lovecraft's work was so fucking fundamental in my development of it's one of the big reasons I'm into real fucked up body horror and weird cosmic space shit. All of that, so much of my taste originates in Lovecraft and just that weird fucking shit. And no matter who made this movie, there's a strong possibility that this might be the first movie that I walk out on in 25 years. So, I don't want people to think that I'm saying that specifically about the James Wan version that has been announced, but this is a very risky movie for me. It's a gamble because here's the thing. Look, I think we're all aware that I'm not. Apparently, I have a lot to say about this story, without actually.
Yep.
I think everybody knows that I'm not the biggest fan of James Wan overall. I think everybody also knows that there are certain things he's done that I really enjoy. My worry is that the things that James Wan does that I personally enjoy don't strike me as the kind of things that would make a successful and enjoyable and high quality adaptation of Call of Cthulhu. And so I'm just my immediate thought wasn't even anything negative, right? My immediate thought was just oh, is that the right guy? But I think I would have that reaction to just about it. There's one person in the entire world that I wouldn't have that reaction about, and it's Guillermo del Toro. And it's because, A, he's fucking incredible, and B, he was talking about for the longest time doing an adaptation of Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness, and it was the most anticipated thing in my life for a while. And then that fucking Prometheus movie happened and did certain things in its story, and Del Toro was like, well, that's basically the exact same story I was going to kind of tell with At the Mountains of Madness, so I don't really see any reason to go ahead with that anymore. And we didn't get the incredible Del Toro Lovecraft adaptation. And so anyway, I could see, he's literally the only person who I think has the sensibility, the right eye, and the right mentality to do it. But
I will
I'm
say,
not writing it off. I'll say
mhm,
that I'm not writing it off, but goddamn, did I get anxious right away.
I understand that. My favorite, we'll say adult book, because my favorite book of all time is The Phantom Tollbooth, which I read as a 10-year-old and instilled in me a love of grammar. So that I can't say is my favorite book in my, oh God, mid-30s. I'm ancient. My favorite adult book is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. And anybody who got announced to do a Mistborn movie, I would be like, no, you're not going to do it right. And I don't like this. There's no way. So I can
Right.
understand that. But I do have to say that I was trying to find out. All the articles I saw just said James Wan is making this. It did not say whether he's producing, directing, or writing,
Yeah,
or if he's
I had
doing
that thought
which
as
of
well.
those. So I am curious to see if he signs on as writer and director. I will be very, ugh, but maybe he will do one of those roles and somebody will do something else and we'll be like, oh, okay, like maybe Guillermo does one of those other things
If
because they're
he
like, oh, you wanted to do a thing.
Yeah, if he's just like if this is one of those things that's going to be part of that James Wan Blumhouse partnership, and he's maybe just sort of serving in a producing and maybe a writing role, uh I'll be a little bit more comfortable with the idea if he's not the guy in the director's chair. And I just,
Hmm.
yeah, that's
We just talked about the Barbie movie, and I like the Barbie movie. I like some Greta Gerwig's movies. Mistborn's my favorite book. If they put her in that role and said she's making the Mistborn books, I'd be like, oh fuck no, oh no. So I get it. Of like
right.
this style, I can't imagine working, but I'll hold out hope. I
Yeah,
understand it. It's not a
yeah,
thing
for
against
sure.
James Wan, even though he's wonderful.
Oh man,
But
well, I mean, I can remember back in late '98 or mid '98 when it was announced that they were moving forward with full scale adaptations of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, and the person who was going to be making it was Peter Jackson of The Frighteners and Dead Alive and Meet the Feebles, and I was just like, oh,
Meet the Feebles, dear God.
really? That guy. Now, to be fair, there was a part of me that was like, okay, that could
I could
work
take a
because
Meet the
I was
Feebles
a
Lord of the
fan.
Rings.
I was a fan already at that point. The first Peter Jackson movie I ever saw was The Frighteners, and I was a fan from that point forward. I sought out his other stuff, but even at that time, he endured so much. Like even me, I was like, wow, that I mean. I guess it could be okay. That's gonna happen with any legendary
Hmm.
property. So, I mean, God, I hope it's good. I really hope it's good.
Are you ready to move on to literature, which I will make
I'm
very quick?
please do.
Okay. I read a book that I really did not like this month, and I was debating whether I was going to name it. It was recommended by one of the listeners, so if you pick up on this clue as to what I'm talking about, we can discuss it specifically. But I decided I'm not going to name it because I am about to say that I really don't like it, and it was by such a small independent writer that it feels like I'm going out of my way to trash a small artist if I just say like, "Here's this book you've never heard of. It fucking sucks," you know. Like that would feel like a dick thing. But basically there was a book mentioned in one of the comments and I was like, oh, that sounds hardcore. I'm very interested in it. And at a certain point near the end, it just becomes extremely grotesque in the physical harm that it does to the woman in the book. And I am not a squeamish person. I don't need trigger warnings. I mean, I get triggered by things. I'm not not supernatural. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm not like an invincible human who doesn't, but like nothing like that really gets under my skin. And even I was like, "Oh, this is intense." And yet I didn't like it. And I was like, I wonder what's wrong with me not liking this because I'm always saying that I want to read the extreme shit. And I wish things would go over that line more often. So then I needed a palate cleanser, and I went to one of my favorite authors, Chuck Paluhniuk, who arguably has done some of the grossest things in literature, but yet did not
Arguably,
do them. Yeah, arguably. Maybe not. I've read
okay.
some fucked up stuff. I also really like Richard Lehman, and he might be worse. So Chuck Palahniuk, I went to some of my comfort books, and one of those comfort books was Snuff, which is where 600 men, or is that 160? I don't remember. Several men sign up to do a multiple person sex scene with only one woman, and it begins the book by saying none of us intended to make a snuff film at the start of this. So you can only imagine what
World's
happens
biggest
in this book.
gangbang porno is what we're talking about here.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely.
I'm
Yep.
pretty sure it's like 600 dudes. Yeah.
I was gonna say I think it's like 612 or something,
It's
but I
an
can't remember if I was just fucking up my
it's
notes.
a ridiculous
Yeah,
number.
because they're like, no human woman can stand that. So then I read that book and I was like, huh, that was like way more fucked up in a different way. Why did I enjoy that? And then I went back to one of my favorite books of all time, which is Consider This: Moments in My Writing Life After Which Everything Was Different by Chuck Palahniuk. And it is just a book about writing. I don't read these kinds of books because I am intending to be a writer. I read these kinds of books because I really like to analyze what works and what doesn't. I read movie writing books for the same reason. Stage stuff, I really just like the why behind it. And it really just came down to a part of his book clicked with me of if you're going to write a book, don't write a book that could be portrayed in a movie because why would you bother? You should be making a movie then. And that's all to say that I didn't like the first book that I read that was purely about torturing a woman. And I realized because I could just envision it and watch a movie and none of it would matter. I don't know what the point of any of this was, except that Chuck Palahniuk is really fucking good and he's my comfort.
He's he's
I
something.
had very strong opinions about the book, but I just don't want to get into it because it feels like trashing a small time person, and I don't want to do that.
Here's what I love about what just went on here is Michelle was like, I'm just going to tell you guys about this terrible literary experience that I had. I'm not going to tell you what it was or what I think you should avoid. I'm just going to
Nope.
tell you that I had a bad experience. This is the therapy portion of the show.
Exactly. Well, I think because then I went on a journey that I did not mean to go on. And that's why I was like, fuck, do I talk about this book because I want to talk about Chuck Palahniuk inevitably? Because I went from that book and I was like, oh, well, I'll go read something that I know I'll like, and I'm working my way through all of Chuck's books. We're on first name basis now. Me and Chuck are close. Sometimes call him Charles for jokes. Chuck and I went to read one of his that I hadn't read before, which was titled fucking Snuff. So I knew I was gonna get into something. And then I was like, huh, why did that work? But yet the other book that is purely just torturing a lady and still from first person perspective, why did that not work for me? And that's all to say, go read Chuck Palahniuk's writing book and then write again. The small artist does have like small author does have a lot of books, and I think I'm gonna go read more of them. I'm curious if it was just this one or if they're all like this. So I'm gonna go on a journey, and I probably won't be happy, and you guys will never hear about it.
Oh my god, oh shit. Whoa, so hey guys, there's a weird jump right there. Guess what? JD's internet still fucking sucks. God damn it, I need to get a new internet provider. For you, nothing happened. We just time traveled. Our connection went all completely to shit. I believe we were talking about Michelle's obsession with Chuck Palahniuk. I do want to say that, like, I've read a decent amount of his stuff, but not a lot of it for a while. I do think some of his earlier stuff was really good. I think my favorite Chuck book was Lullaby. I'm a big fan of that one. Lullaby is good, and I also really liked Survivor.
Survivor's on my list. I have not read that one. I own it. It's high on my list. It's just we'll say, different writing style than his more conventional books. And so it took me a little bit to get into it. Either that or I might get mixed up.
I also really enjoyed Diary. In fact, really, now that I'm looking at this list, those first several, Fight Club, Survivor, Invisible Monster, here's where things started to go wrong, is some of the stuff in Haunted.
Haunted's my favorite because it's an anthology, and I was gonna tell you. Of course, I like the anthology.
Some of there's the story, like with the CPR trainer, and like obviously Guts is a sort of well-known thing in his world. I don't know. There was something about that just was off-putting to me. I didn't read Rant, and then I read Snuff, and I was just like, nah, I don't need any more of this.
I love
and so I haven't read anything he's done since Snuff. But those first, especially though, now that I'm thinking about it, Lullaby and Diary. Diary's the one about the island. And the people who live there, and yeah, that's those two I really, really enjoyed.
I am a fan of all of his stuff. I've never read anything that I completely disliked. There have been some things where I'm like, meh, not my favorite. But nothing where I'm like, man, I hate that I read that.
Right on.
So I love him. One of my favorite authors by
This
far.
this is going on a pretty long ass episode, Michelle. What else do we got to talk about? I don't have a problem with that, by the way. I just was noticing the time.
Well,
so I just
thing. We had so much good shit to talk about when I thought this was going to be a quick episode, but Godzilla Minus One, Barbie.
Oh, I'm honestly afraid to look back at the waveform here and see how many times I just rambled for God knows how many minutes.
Just don't do it. Don't look at it.
I have to edit the fucking podcast
do
together,
it
Michelle.
Looking.
I gotta clip out like 37 minutes of dead space there when nobody knows we were gone.
Literally dead space because my audio is asking when I should take off my helmet as I'm floating away from the spaceship and I'll never see my family again.
Right now, somebody is piecing together that we record this show in two separate audio waves and then edit it together, and they're like, why the fuck do you do that? And look, the answer is, I don't know. Shut up. We're not professionals.
It would be... as opposed to recording, because I was like, well, we'd have to hang out otherwise. What's the alternative?
No, I just mean like why don't we just like do this call but just record all the audio on one side?
Because when we did it on one side, it was bad.
Yeah.
If you're an expert in that kind of stuff, hit us up. Tell us.
One of these days, hey, you want us to find a better way to do this podcast than editing two waveforms together? Kick us a sponsorship. Oh God.
Like he said.
Yeah. Look, guys, we could use some money. Anyway.
And wine. I'll take sponsorship in the form of white wine, Moscato, preferably. Yeah.
So I don't have nothing much more to say except to just reiterate, guys. See Godzilla Minus One. If you're not the kind of person who's just like, I can't watch anything at all that's not a horror movie, see Barbie. This movie is so much more than you will ever expect it to be. Also, like I said, if you're a horror fan and you haven't ever seen them, go watch those Bava classics, especially Black Sunday and A Bay of Blood. A Bay of Blood I didn't mention earlier, but it had an alternative title that I really wish they had gone with because it's possibly the only title I've ever heard that might be better than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that title is Twitch of the Death Nerve.
Oh, that sounds uncomfortable.
Twitch of the Death Nerve is a fucking heavy title. Anyway, go watch
Funny Bone. That feels like a twitch of my death nerve.
Go watch all of that shit, guys.
Like
what do you got to wrap up on, Michelle?
I got fucking nothing. I am tired. I'm in a bad mood. I think I'm gonna go start Miles Morales. I think it's time to start a new video game. I think we're there.
Great. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.
We Watch Shudder is a production of Rat Factory Media, your home for all of today's Rat Factoryist podcasts. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests of We Watch Shudder are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Rat Factory Media. But wait, aren't Rat Factory Media and We Watch Shudder the same people? Shut your cake hole, Charlie. Nobody asked you. We Watch Shudder is available free on all major podcast platforms, and the easiest way to support We Watch Shudder is also free. Just leave a rating and review on your platform of choice. Merge your consciousness with ours on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We're at We Watch Shudder on all those social media platforms. Or find us the old-fashioned way, on the web at WeWatchShudder.com or by email at mail@WeWatchShudder.com. Heck, you can even leave us a voicemail at 701-566-9510. No, seriously, 701-566-9510. Try it if you dare.
All right, guys, this is maybe only going to be interesting to about a half a dozen of you, but we had some technical difficulties in that episode. Yeah, right at the end there, we did the little time travel bit. I said I think it was 37 minutes. It just felt like 37 minutes. It was actually only about 4 minutes while we were putting things together. But the reason we were able to successfully save this episode and bring it all back together is because Michelle and I both kept rolling on our sides of the call. But, of course, since we both had the tape still rolling, and because we're neurotic weirdos, we both kept saying things and had random stuff recorded. And when I edited the whole show together, well, just listen.
What?
Shit.
Did you stop recording?
I'm just going to keep this rolling. Just going to keep this rolling. Just going to keep
What
this
happened?
rolling. Michelle, please just keep
Are
rolling.
you still there? Because I don't see
Michelle,
an image.
please just keep rolling.
Did we just lose
Please
video?
just keep
Did we
rolling.
lose audio?
Please just keep rolling. Oh my
Hello?
God, I didn't pay attention.
Hello?
Michelle,
I'm just floating in
please
the
just
black
keep
abyss by
rolling.
myself.
Are you there?
I'm tethered to a spaceship.
Please
Can
tell
anyone
me
hear
you're there.
SOS.
Hello, Michelle.
SOS.
Hello, Michelle.
Say goodnight, Michelle.
Where are you?
Michelle.
Oh my God. What's going on?
I just can't keep
What's
recording.
going on?
for a
Just
little
keep
bit, I
recording.
guess.
What's going on? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Just keep recording, just keep recording, just keep rolling, just keep rolling, just keep rolling, just keep rolling, just keep rolling. Just keep rolling, 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 just keep rolling. Oh, please just keep rolling. Oh, I hope this connects. Come on, come on, come on. Come on,
I
come
accidentally
on,
did not
come
turn on video and it won't let me
on.
turn on video. Can you hear me though?
Why,
no. I can't hear you.
why,
This is a true horror movie. This is how you know I would not survive in space. It's only been a minute and I am bored. I can't entertain myself. Do I take the helmet off? Is now the moment? Is this when I should give in? Will I ever see JD's phone? Like I'm about to when I take off my helmet. Yep. Aw.
Come on. Come on, come on.
Hey. Uh-oh. I cannot see or hear
Are you there?
Oh no.
God damn it.
It's like I'm still alone in the darkness. Oh, I heard a sound for like a millisecond and then it went away. Still don't see you. Oh. Now I see a profile picture.
Can you hear me?
Hey. Yeah.